Well, what little grass I did have is gone now because of those guys. They like to fight. Hey everyone, Rick here with the Ditch Pig. Today's video, I'm going to show you a couple things that we got to get accomplished on this truck over the next little while. Some of it is just minor stuff and some of it is pretty major. So we'll dive right into it and I'll let you know what's going on. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you about a couple things. I recently became monetized on Facebook. The last week of February, I started noticing that, yeah, they're paying me money. I'm getting paid for the Reels, which is the short videos, if you're not familiar with that. Not getting rich off it, but I am making money from it, so that's a bonus. I'm still working on getting monetized on YouTube. I need about just over 1,500 more watch hours, and I can get monetized on that. So if you guys get a chance, head over to my Facebook. It's Rick Benjamin, and it'll say the Ditch Pig Experience on there too also. Head over there, check it out, and hit that follow button. Watch some of the Reels on there. So that's pretty cool that I'm getting paid on Facebook. It was kind of a shock to be monetized. I didn't realize it was going to happen. It just worked out that way. All of a sudden I looked on the dashboard of the app there for my profile, and yeah, there was money on it. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm getting paid. And I went from having just over 500 followers to like almost 7,000 as of the day that this video was recorded. So it's growing pretty rapidly. Not sure how far it's gonna go, but we'll just take her to the limit and see what happens. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. For starters, right off the rip, the pig is getting rusty. It's starting to add up in different spots. It's getting pretty bad. We got spots like this in the rear quarter. All up underneath this driver's wheel well is rotten. And back here on this box rail, it's gotten pretty seedy. The other side is pretty much the same deal, but not as bad. This got stowed in again the last time we went out. It must have hit a tree, and it's got a ton of surface rust on it. But as you work your way towards the front, holes, that's all rotten there. And up under here, it's starting to get a little bad. This section here that goes between the tub and the quarter, I'm gonna have to redo that. The tub's getting crusty here. This lip on this is obviously toast. This was just metal strapping that I had welded onto this when I did the box. So that box was redone in 2015. I started using it in 2016. So I spent a few months there altering it and cleaning it up, and it wasn't rust free, but it was pretty good. I cut the box here and took 13 inches out. In the bed, there was some rust. There's a seam along here where I did the inside too. Back here behind each wheel well, there was some rust. When I took that 13 inches out, it eliminated it. When I shortened it, I had to put a box rail in. The one that I welded in, that's rusty now, so that's gonna have to be replaced. These ones here, gotta get at them and clean them up. I may replace them, I may not. I may just clean them up and paint them and see how much longer I can get out of them. The frame's all still good, but it's pretty rusty. I have to clean that up. The last time I just used a wire wheel and just went at it. Cleaned it up as best I could and put PR15 to it. Not gonna use that again. That stuff just peels off. I wasn't too impressed with it. Probably because I didn't prep it good enough as far as sandblasting it or, you know, whatnot. Etch primers and stuff. But there's just rust breaking out everywhere on it. I'm gonna have to clean it up and respray it. No, I'm not gonna fix any of the dents. I thought about putting box sides on it because these ones are just stowed right in, but I think I'll just pop the dents out, get some good paint back on it again to help hold the rust back, and we'll just keep sending it. I mean, it's gonna get more dents in it anyway. Every time it goes through the woods, it gets more dents, so there's no point in putting fresh panels on it. Not until they're completely screwed. All right, so another big issue that I have is the rear suspension. This has got a shackle flip on it, and it was something that came with the truck when I bought it. It's homemade, and it's starting to go south, actually north. All right, so this is the shackle flip that was made. Not sure who made it. They did a pretty good job. It's pretty rugged. The only real downside to it was it's got this bar welded in between it. I welded that in there to keep it from tipping, but try and get this camera level. don't know if you can see that or not, but that's starting to tip up. And it's causing the shackle to rub on this. And I've already feathered the edges on this piece on an angle, beveled them down so they didn't dig into the shackle. The other side is worse. You can see how it's tipped up, like that's not a right angle anymore. So, not sure what's happening there, exactly why it's tipping like that. At first I noticed it a little bit, now it's starting to get a lot worse. So I'm gonna have to do something with that pretty soon. Problem being is, here's my frame and here's where my shackle flip is. Normally, if you bought one from like Off-Road Design, they're bolted right to your frame. You don't have this piece up here. So initially I was thinking about just buying a set of shackle flips from Off-Road Design. They're built beefier than these. They got a better design. But the ones you get from there mount right to the frame and they're level. They kind of got a lip that goes underneath of here and it bolts through there too. But here a couple years ago, my buddy Andrew bought a set and I took them and compared it and I held it up here. This part on the Off-Road Design shackle flip is down here. So for me to put that on, I'm gonna gain from here to here in lift. And I don't really want to add any lift to this truck. I don't need it any taller. There's no point to having it taller. It clears the tires now perfectly. I can still get in and out of it pretty good. Pam can just barely get in it. So if I put more lift in it, it's not gonna be beneficial that way. I don't really want to get involved in changing a bunch of stuff to make this work. The least amount of stuff that I have to change, the better. So what I'm thinking about doing is, I might take and build something that goes over top of the frame and then comes out. It'll drop this down a bit to bring this level with that, but it's not going to be enough to really add a ton of lift to it. Just something that I can put a bolt in here, a bolt in there on each side, front and back. So all I'll really gain for lift is from there to there, which is not huge. I'll probably compensate in the front by adding a 0-rate add-a-leaf that you can get from Off-Road Design, and it'll make up for some of the lift that I gain in the back. Some other rust that I gotta deal with that's starting to cause a problem. As many of you know, my rocker panels are 3/16 thick wall tubing, and my rock rails are welded directly to that, so plenty solid. All I did was cut along here with a cutoff wheel. So this is actually the factory rocker. And then I welded the tubing in on an angle underneath of it. So at some point in time, I had to put a patch in here where the factory rocker got rotten. And I mean, this isn't factory. I've replaced the rockers on this probably 3 or 4 times over the years that I've owned the truck. Anyway, it decided to rust just above it. That's a hole that I had for undercoating, which I've never ever used, but I'm gonna have to start doing it. Down here I've got patches welded over top of patches, and it's starting to rot through there. This is getting pretty thin. That pretty much with the wire wheel would be a hole. Along here, that's been rotting for a while, and I just keep putting weld on it and gobbing it up. I'll probably cut that off and weld in some new metal there. Here in Nova Scotia in the wintertime, we use salt to tackle the problem, the ice on the roads, and it also eats our vehicles. So pretty much the only thing you can do is replace the metal and undercoat. Okay, the next issue that has come up and I'm gonna have to deal with, the seat in this truck is getting really uncomfortable and it's starting to get really rough. Just recently, this back piece here started to tear. It's letting go at the seams. The seat decided to tear here. The framework of it is still solid, but somewhere along the lines it's gotten loose somewhere and it's making noises. The small of my back, where you need lumbar support, this dips right in, and this seat here has gotten a lot softer for me sitting it over the years. I'm really thinking about taking the second row seat out of the Denali and putting it in the Pig. But yeah, this seat is a 60-40 split. I think height-wise it's going to be good enough. Width-wise it's good. It's in really good shape. It's leather. Like I say, I'll be able to flop it down so I can still access cargo in the back of it. I think it'll be a nice upgrade, and they're really comfortable seats. I'll be able to access underneath the seats too for more storage. And an even bigger bonus that I've never had in the Pig is I will actually have a cup holder. This flops down to a dual cup holder. And I'm telling you, that's gonna be some luxury right there. So along with the seat swap that's gotta go on in this thing, there's a couple other things I'll mention. Right here, we got a 2000 watt inverter. That gives me household power if I go camping or if I'm out in the trail and something breaks and I need electricity. I'm thinking about moving that to behind the seat. Maybe put it right in this area, right in here, bolt it to that, and that way if I need power I can just plug into it. I'll put this surface here facing up, so just plug in whatever you need. Power button's right there. The leads will go out through the back of the cab and through the headboard, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to move the batteries to the bed in back. Now, I've mentioned a couple times about getting rid of this tank in the cradle, putting a fuel cell in. If I'm going to do all this stuff, I'm going to try to do it all around the same time, try to get it all lined up, so just boom, 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 it happens. The box has got to come off. That means the tank's got to come off. That'd be a perfect time to do a fuel cell. In the other videos I've mentioned about putting it over in that corner. So this corner, to kind of offset the weight of like the 15 or 20 gallons or whatever, I'll put my 2 batteries here. Okay, in the last video I mentioned to you guys about the exhaust. That's something that's gonna have to happen here in the next little while. Like I said, the welds are getting bad on the pipe, where they're MIG welded on the stainless. The welds are starting to crack and rust from being twisted. I am gonna alter the exhaust to help make way for that cross member for the traction bar. So that's gonna happen. So the traction bar goes here. I've also got to remake my shock mounts and alter those because I have different shocks. They are the same length as my front shocks, so I have to make taller brackets to mount them on. So yeah, traction bar, new shock mounts, exhaust has got to change. The other thing that I got to take care of is my driveline emergency brake. I've got to get that caliper mounted. I'm not sure if I'll be able to use this rotor or not. I'm thinking I will. I got to take some measurements and find out for sure. But this bearing housing up here, I may have to change that. And I got to get a different mounting bracket for the caliper. Northwest Fab sells all that stuff, so I'm going to look into getting that. If the rotor doesn't work, they have a rotor that's meant for that kit, so I'll just buy that too. So a few things I got to check into for dimensions, and then I can buy that stuff. So yeah, that's basically the majority of the stuff I got to look into getting done here over the next couple months. It's quite a bit of work, but if I can stay motivated, I should be able to pound through it pretty good. But what I've got to take care of immediately, the other day I had this thing out for a drive, pulled into the sand pit afterwards just to play around a little bit, and I noticed after I'd been coming onto it pretty hard, there was some squeaking going on, and yeah, it sounded like a U-joint. I've already got the straps off of this because I'm gonna have to change it, but as you can see, there's no bearings in that cup. So I'm gonna pop that out and have a look at it. I don't have another U-joint that's new, but I do have an old one that only needs a cup put on it or something. So yeah, I'll just get that thrown back together and get it working. I've been driving it like that for a couple of days there, and I could hear the noise, and I was like, yeah, I better get at that before I lose my dry shaft. So luckily it held together. Okay, here's what we're looking at here. This is the one that just came out of the truck. As you can see, the trunnion on that is absolutely toast.
She gone.
The other cups on it though, they're mint. There's nice, good clean grease in them. These are in mint shape. So what I think I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna use this joint. The cups and bearings on this are still good. So I think I'll just throw that on there. I'll order 2 of these. So I got a new one for in the truck plus another spare. Okay, so I'll just get that cleaned up and greased and throw that back in the dry shaft and should be rolling down the road again. back together. Just need some grease and we're ready to roll. Give her a test drive. Well, the dry shaft's still in it, so I call that a success. Didn't fly out, lose a cat. Yeah, that's just a quick video to let you guys know some of the stuff that's coming up with this, some of the stuff that I have to address. There's obviously other things that I'm going to do. Wheeling. I'm still going to put those other rock lights in. There's a few other things I'm going to take care of. Yeah, that just gives you guys an update on what's going on with the truck. What you can expect in the next few videos. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Some of that stuff needs to be addressed pretty quickly. But until the next video, like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever turns your crank, and we'll see you soon.